And a good Wednesday to you, Central Georgia. Thanks for tuning in here for a look at your extended forecast. We're going to talk about a lot of things with your forecast, and it's a bit complex, so there's many factors that are going to go into it. The first of which is going to be the heat today. So obviously it's been a while since we've started to say words like heat and hot weather. Well, today definitely classifies as it. I've definitely been classifying the last couple of days as just simply warm. However, with some of the feels like temperatures we're forecasting today, no way around it. It is going to be a hot afternoon. Then our cold front is going to start to arrive tomorrow. Now we'll go over the latest run of future views, see what time that cold front starts to make its presence known at the very least and what time it will actually get out of here. And then a few days of rain chances, as we'll continue to have some rain chances in the near vicinity as we go into this weekend. Overall, I do believe Saturday and Sunday are trending a lot drier as of right now, but then we have to keep you updated on the tropics because that could be influencing our forecast as we go into the beginning of next week. So we'll go over everything that you need to know. So I only have one sky cam to show you. I'm showing you one of Robin's. Forgot to put it up on the quad view, but it does look like a mighty nice start to today. Very similar to the last couple of days. Not much in the way of cloud cover. Plenty of blue sky, mostly sunny skies are going to continue to contribute to that warm up as we go into the 10 a.m. hour and then eventually towards the 11 a.m. hour. So these numbers have just continued to be a bit warmer each and every day. At the very warmest, I spot an 83 down in Rochelle. We have lots of scattered low 80s, 81 a popular number among Sparta, Gordon, down to Cochran and Eastman, 80 in Warner Robins, 78 in Macon, 79 over in Thomaston for the only two upper 70 values that you can find on this temperature map. So 83 actually pretty close to our warmest temperature in the eastern United States. That actually still goes to New Orleans, but matching the next highest values that you can see in Jacksonville over into Houston. Rochelle is definitely matching those numbers as of right now, so that definitely gives us a good idea that it's pretty warm down here along the Gulf Coast of the United States, somewhere in the south and the southeast. 78 here in Macon. Obviously the numbers get a little bit cooler as you go farther up to the north. At the coolest, I think you can spot some 50s, 52 over in Denver, 57 in Amarillo. But down in our neighboring areas, we do see many of the similar temperature values as we have here in central Georgia. 80 in Montgomery, 80 over in Jackson, 82 down in Panama City along with Orlando, 79 in Laredo, but starting to see a lot of that orange color. And many areas in this deep south are going to have a very similar forecast to what we have in central Georgia for their Wednesday. Here's a look at the dew point temperatures. And yes, this is kind of the darkest green color we have seen as of recently. Steadily continuing the warm up with those dew point temperatures, indicating that there's more and more moisture present all across the south and the southeast. And this might be in kind of a combination of factors, but maybe a bit of a southwesterly component ushering in some of that Gulf moisture back into our forecast. But many of our neighboring states have the same scenario. So over to the west, back into Alabama and Mississippi, definitely their fair share of humidity. In the northern portion of the state of Georgia, not seeing too much in the way of super muggy air, but overall it does look like the farther south and southeast that you go closer towards the Atlantic coast, that's where we are getting plenty of that moisture in the forecast. So we're already seeing some feels like numbers around the 90 degree mark. 90 in Gordon, feels like 91 in Sandersville, 91 in Unadilla, 93 at the warmest already down in Telfair County. So everyone's feeling like the 80s here, as most areas probably in the lower to the mid 80s. But then as you go into maybe our south and southeasternmost counties, you're starting to see some of those values in the upper 80s, near 90 degrees. Definitely the warmest day that not only we've had so far this week, but also the warmest day that we've had in nearly a month in central Georgia. This is the type of weather that we had for the first part of August. But obviously then we went into that below average stretch of weather where the high temperatures were somewhere in the 80s. We didn't have much humidity in the forecast. This is hopefully, fingers crossed, giving us one last taste of that summertime heat, that summertime humidity, and then hopefully after this frontal boundary moves through, we can knock the numbers back down to some more reasonable thresholds, somewhere in the mid 80s, right there around average for the high temperatures, but nowhere near the 90s like what we have in store for today. So winds and wind gusts, maybe a tad bit breezy out of the south and the southwest. Overall, hour by hour, we'll continue to see that warm up eventually into the 90s already at 1 p.m. Now our meteogram is topping out at somewhere around 92 degrees for most of the afternoon. Well, I've gone ahead and gone above that number because we hit 91 degrees yesterday, and I was telling you I was forecasting 91 because most of the models had about an 89 or a 90. I thought we were going to be slightly warmer, and sure enough, we exactly were. So a 30-degree temperature spread between that morning low of 61 degrees, which still is below average, believe it or not, given how much we were above average yesterday for the high temperatures by 5 degrees. 98, the record high for yesterday all time back in 1925. Didn't necessarily get too close to that. Record low yesterday, 46 back in 1999. But another pesky day with no rain chances. Your year departure of rain now below that 4.5-inch mark, and we'll continue to watch that number more than likely go down throughout today. But then finally Thursday, hopefully we have some decent rain chances to at least maybe push this number back up a little bit more, but still 4 inches above where we should be. We've had plenty of rain so far in 2025. That is not a concern, but on a month-to-month basis, September is definitely of concern because it has been a very, very dry month where we've only recorded simply 1/10 of an inch of rain. So obviously that number not doing a very good job of keeping that number where it was, somewhere around 6 or 7 inches above where we should be at this point of the year after we got through that wet month of August. Sunrise 7:24, sunset 7:29 yesterday. So sunset is officially now before 7:30, and we'll continue to watch that number get earlier and earlier. So I do believe it's around October 15th, October 16th that we will have our last 7 p.m. sunset. Then the sun will begin to set before the 7 p.m. hour, somewhere in the late 6 o'clock hour. So for today, hot afternoon, one last dry day, and that once again goes for the majority of central Georgia. The majority of central Georgia will have mostly sunny skies, and you're going to be feeling the heat with afternoon high temperatures somewhere around 94 degrees. So yes, that's even a little bit warmer than what we were talking about yesterday. Average high this time of year, 86 degrees, so 94 is already 8 degrees above that average mark, but it is going to be hot. And we have some humidity in the forecast, so there's a chance that we see maybe some scattered showers in some spots, but I think it's more so going to come in the form of isolated showers, just meaning a select few are going to get lucky, maybe get a brief shower that lasts a couple minutes, and then after that it will be out of the picture and you're still going to feel the humidity. But with 94 for an actual temperature, we were talking about this yesterday, just want to make sure that you're taking care of your furry friends. These temperatures are going to make it a bit too hot to trot as we go into the afternoon. About 140 and 155 degrees are what the concrete and asphalt temperatures should be around later on. If you had to pick one of the two, obviously make sure that your pets stay on the concrete as opposed to the asphalt, but I would recommend not putting their paws on either of those because those temperatures are just way too warm. Keep them inside, try to keep them in the grass. If you are taking them on a walk on a hard surface, get them a pair of shoes, something to just insulate the bottom of their paws from not having to feel the heat of those surfaces. And hopefully this is the last time I have to show you this graphic as we go into this cooler portion of the year. The fall time does tend to be a very nice time to walk your furry friends. So your heat indices today, we haven't had too many talking points with this as of recently, maybe a degree or two warmer. Well, today I think it's going to take it an extra step above. It feels like 89 degrees already at the 11 a.m. hour. We're already seeing areas that feel like the 90s, 93 as we go into the midday hour, and then as we kind of top it out in the afternoon hours, somewhere around 96, 97 degrees for feels like temperatures, and we're still going to feel like the 90s all the way until dinner time. Just past dinner time, we'll finally go back down into the 80s, and it looks like as we go closer and closer to midnight, still not even getting below that 80-degree mark for what it feels like outside. So obviously temperatures in the 70s, that's really going to be mainly for the overnight hours tonight. It's going to be a hot one, no way around it. Make sure you're staying hydrated. Make sure that you have the sunglasses. If you're going to be outside for an extended period of time, maybe even throwing a little bit of sunscreen on your skin just to avoid anything like sunburn. And obviously, if it does get a little bit overbearingly hot, make sure that you're taking some breaks. Try to go in the shade. Make sure you keep that bottle of water full and keep that bottle of water nice and cold. Along with that, try to take some breaks inside if you absolutely can this afternoon. So here's your satellite and radar picture. Nothing in the way of rain, just some patchy cloud cover that was around for the morning hours, but that's not the case anymore. Obviously, a bit of an active picture up here to the north and the northwest of us. We have continued to see round after round of showers and maybe some thunderstorms that are relatively scattered in nature Up into North Alabama this morning, back over here into Mississippi, a very widespread cluster of some steady and some heavy rainfall along the Mississippi River into portions of northern Louisiana, southern Arkansas. Well, this is all going to be associated with our boundary that's going to start to kick into gear and start to push down towards the south and the southeast over the next 24 hours. But right now, what we're just even searching for a little bit is going to be some relief from the warmer temperatures. So can we get this edge of the cloud deck that's already stretching into portions of north and northwest Georgia? Can we get that to even just push down here into our vicinity to at least keep the numbers a little bit cooler than what they're expected to rise to today? So once again, as we go throughout this afternoon, I think your rain chances for today are mainly going to be secluded up to the north of I-85, this interstate road right here. It goes all the way from Atlanta down into Montgomery. So you will see better rain chances up in that corridor. A couple of spotty showers, maybe even some storms that are trying to organize as they push farther down to the south and the southeast. Here in central Georgia, it looks like the clouds finally start to push in as we go into the nighttime hours tonight. Other than an isolated sprinkle or maybe a steady shower for about 5 minutes in time, I don't think you're looking at anything in the way of rain today. It's just going to be a downright hot day and also mostly sunny, but a few more clouds in the sky than what we have seen as of the last couple of days. So maybe getting some clouds that could provide you for at least a little bit of shade on occasion. So now let's go to 8 a.m. 8 a.m. it does look like we do have a bit more of an eventful picture. This is actually some relatively thick cloud cover. The sun's beginning to rise, so we'll probably get a great image of the sun continuing to rise. But as we progress into those late morning and afternoon hours, we're going to start to see some spotty showers, maybe even some storms already trying to develop. Along with that cloud cover continuing to push down towards the south and the southeast. Now, as we go into around lunchtime on Thursday, looks to be a bit of an active picture. More so some widely scattered showers and a couple of storms indicated by the darker red colors that you are seeing, those heavier rainfall rates going all the way into Thursday afternoon, more so into the evening. Still kind of a period of on again and off again rain, and you could get rain anywhere from the form of a drizzle to a light shower to even a full-blown thunderstorm, that some of which could be on the stronger end. So obviously we'll have to look out for the potential for that, but I think the best window for some stronger thunderstorms going to really be that afternoon window as we transition into just past sunset. Future View actually hints at this line of storms, not really more so storms, more some showers, some pockets of heavier rain, obviously a few rumbles of thunder is going to try to push in as we go into the overnight hours. Well, obviously our temperatures will be a little bit cooler. You're not going to have much sunlight, so that line looks to fizzle out as we go into Friday morning, but we still could have some light showers in the forecast for your Friday right there around lunchtime. It's going to be a very gloomy day. This cloud cover stays present from the morning all the way through most of your Friday. So that's going to keep the numbers down even more than what we're looking at for high temperatures as we go into Thursday afternoon. And then as we transition into Friday afternoon, we still do have some scattered shower, maybe even some storm chances, but they are a lot more scattered out in nature. It doesn't look like it's going to be as widespread, maybe as organized as what we have on Thursday. So I do have a downtick in your rain chances from Thursday afternoon all the way into your Friday afternoon. Future View going into midnight as we transition into the early morning hours of Saturday. Most of your rain chances are back over here. This is why I think the front is going to continue to progress through central Georgia by the time we roll into Saturday, and then we go as far out as about 3 a.m. But there's still plenty of moisture, plenty of cloud cover trying to hang out in the picture. I do still have a few rain chances for Saturday as we go throughout the day, but as of right now, it does look like the bulk of the rain, those thunderstorms, the heavier showers right there along the leading edge of the frontal boundary will continue to move out of the picture. So before we get to Saturday, before we even get to Friday, we have to talk about Thursday, which we do have this day 2 storm outlook, which is mainly covering the bases for the potential for one of those stronger thunderstorms, or maybe even possibly a severe thunderstorm or two that could pop up into the picture. Gusty winds and frequent lightning going to be the main things that you see with anything that is of the stronger nature, and along with that, some localized areas of some pretty heavy rainfall pockets, which would not be a bad thing whatsoever. The heavier rainfall you get, the higher totals that you're going to have, and the more water that you're going to have that can continue to saturate that soil, which is very, very dry as of recently. Speaking of rain, let's talk about how much rainfall we are expecting according to this latest run of the graph model over the foreseeable future. So this is going all the way out until the end of future view, maybe even a little bit before that. This is Friday at 7 p.m. Still not looking at much, and it does look like the farther east and southeast that you live, your rain chances are not looking as impressive as what we do have farther up to the north and the northwest, especially back up into North Georgia. That's been the consensus with this front for quite some time now, that the rain chances and the rain totals are going to be higher in North Georgia as opposed to down here in Central Georgia. Well, it looks like they really continue to taper off, but hopefully most areas are going to at least get a couple tenths of an inch of rain. I think the biggest range that we'll probably see is probably going to be about a ½ inch of rain all the way up into maybe an inch and a half of rain. Now, I do think some isolated areas probably have the potential for maybe around 2 inches of rain that you can see outlined in kind of these purple, these magenta shades that are isolated across the area. And then some areas get close to up to about 3 inches. You see that little speck of it right there. Don't get locked into what your specific city or your specific county has in terms of the colors. This is just giving you a potential. So I just want to emphasize that probably about a ½ inch to an inch and a half of rain is expected across Central Georgia, with some localized areas getting those higher totals that kind of just get those heavier showers train over the same area and same area. That's where you'll start to get some totals closer to about 2 inches. Don't know if I really buy in much stock into us getting more than 2 inches of rain in some select few spots, but like I said, we'll take whatever we can get in the form of rain. I would say that most of Central Georgia looks to luck out with at least something in the way of rain over the course of Thursday and into Friday, and then maybe have some rain chances that linger in the picture into the beginning of next week. So your short-term forecast, the big story today: sunglasses, t-shirt, shorts. It's going to be a hot afternoon. Feels like numbers into the upper 90s. Obviously, take those proper precautions. Have that water bottle ready to go. Make sure that you're staying hydrated in light of the warmest numbers that we've really seen in about a month here in Central Georgia. So now going into Thursday and Friday, prepare to trade off whatever you have in terms of your outfit on Wednesday for the rain jacket, for the umbrella, all of that rain gear that you might need for Thursday and Friday. And just because Thursday morning does look predominantly dry doesn't mean that you should head out the door without maybe putting the umbrella over there in your passenger seat or putting the rain jacket over there, because it does look like we're going to have a pretty messy forecast for your Thursday afternoon. I still have about a 50-50 shot of seeing a shower or a thunderstorm. We just haven't seen too much model agreement, so that's going to be a theme with your forecast. It's obviously a lot of things are still continuing to be up in the air, but I would definitely plan on some fairly widely scattered showers and a couple of storms throughout Thursday afternoon. And maybe some areas luck out, you don't get anything in the way of rain. You don't need to utilize your rain gear, but I think it's a better safe than sorry scenario in order for you to just pack the rain gear just to be safe and continue to keep it handy on Friday. You will notice the cloud icons a lot bigger on Friday because that cloud cover is going to be present from sunrise all the way through most of your afternoon. That's going to keep your high temperatures somewhere in the lower 80s, I do believe. We could even maybe not even get out of the 70s depending on how dense that cloud cover is in nature. But I think the rain chances are a lot more scattered out, a lot lower on Friday as opposed to what we do have on Thursday when the front does begin its initial push into Central Georgia. So going into your afternoon highs, what's past the next 3 days, Saturday and Sunday, somewhere in the mid 80s, and you see this average high up here in the top right of your screen. I do imagine by the time we actually get into Saturday and Sunday, we might even see the possibility that number goes down to about 85 degrees. So 84 and 85 are basically going to be around average, if not at average, just below average as we roll into the rest of the weekend. It's definitely a very substantial downtick from the 94 that we have forecasted for your Wednesday afternoon. So seeing a nearly 10 degree, maybe even around 12 degree temperature drop between now into Friday and continuing over the course of your weekend. The humidity day by day isn't going to change much. We're going to continue to have plenty of dew point temperatures in the upper 60s and low 70s for the next couple of days. Like I said, we have plenty of moisture to work with, but the good news is your high temperatures go down. We're not looking at much sunlight in order to influence what it feels like outside. And the more moisture that we have in our forecast, the better your rain chances are going to be as the front drives through, specifically on Thursday and Friday. So those are going to be 2 days that you kind of want to root for more moisture to get inserted into our forecast so we can have some better rain chances far and wide across central Georgia. Then as we go into the rest of your weekend, maybe a slight downtick in the humidity levels, indicating that some slightly drier air tries to make its presence known as we go across the rest of the weekend. Hopefully it can dry out for many outdoor activities that you have, whether that's a tailgate, whether that's a birthday party, whether you're going up to Athens for the Georgia-Alabama game. We're going to hope that we can continue to dry out, and we'll take a look at the long-range models to see what they're having to say about that. So obviously plenty of moisture down to the south and the southeast. There's still some rain chances that are in the near vicinity of central Georgia, the state of Georgia, and it looks like some of them could try to hang around into Saturday evening. But overall, I do believe Sunday is actually looking to be a fairly dry day. Wouldn't rule out a couple of shower chances, but you're going to see things get pretty active down here to the south and the southeast. So we will stop these long-range models here Monday at 3 a.m. and transition into our Tropics Talk. So Tropics Talk, we do have two potential areas that we've been taking a look at over the last couple of days, really since the beginning of the work week, maybe even back into this weekend. Now, this first wave is going to be the area of probably most focus because this shaded area and the potential paths of this wave continue to get very close to not only us here in Macon and central Georgia and the state of Georgia, but down in the southeast Atlantic coast as well. The good news is we're not going to have to worry about a named storm developing with this until we more than likely get into Friday, Saturday, sometime into the weekend. 30% chance of developing over the next 2 days, but it does have high chances of developing past that 48-hour window, indicating that once this tropical wave, which is right now sending pretty heavy bands of rain across island nations, obviously Puerto Rico, the U.S. Virgin Islands, and then eventually it will traverse over into portions of the Dominican Republic, maybe even getting over into Haiti. But it does look like this is going to move up into this environment right here where you see Turks and Caicos, kind of the eastern edge of Cuba, getting up into the Bahamas. That's where it's really going to gain its circulation and organization. But right now, this area does have a projected path that is a little bit too close for comfort. We'll go over what the spaghetti plots are saying and what some of the individual model runs are saying, because that's not the only area that we do have down in the tropics. We still have this area right here just to the east of the Lesser Antilles, the Windward Islands, and this other area of potential development. This area looks like it's going to take that northwestern path up near the vicinity of where this other system does go as of right now. Very high chances of development. I wouldn't doubt that we get our next named storm or a tropical depression formed by the end of today or as we go into the early hours of tomorrow. 90% chance of both developing over the next 48 hours and past that 48 hours. We'll continue to see if maybe some of the Saharan dust over here behind it, maybe just down to the south of it, is going to try to inhibit the development of this system just a tad bit. But the main takeaway with these two potential areas of developing, this area looks like it is going to develop first into our next named storm, and then the area that is of closer vicinity is looking like it's going to form after this tropical wave that is behind it as of right now. So a quick reminder on the names real quick. The next two names to claim are going to be the H and I letter names. So Umberto is the first one, and then Imelda is going to be your second one. So it does look like Umberto is going to be that one that's a little bit east of the Caribbean right now, and then Imelda is going to be the storm that tries to form somewhere around Turks and Caicos, just north of Hispaniola off the east coast of Cuba. That would be our 8th and 9th named storms of the 2025 hurricane season list. But if we do get the formation of Umberto today, that would be a very important milestone because this date, September 24th, as of last year, Hurricane Helene did form. So we are obviously running at a very similar pace to last year's hurricane season. But let's go ahead and take a look at the model runs. This is the European model, which you can see over the next couple of days all the way into Saturday. It looks like twin tropical systems are developing with both of these. Obviously, that's not out of the realm of possibility. Both these systems have a high chance of development, as it already is. But then once you go into the near future, you can continue to see that they're both having a very similar path, kind of up along the eastern edge of the United States. This wave out here is looking like it is probably going to be a bit stronger than what the wave is over towards the west, which is going to be the area that comes closest to us Right now, this is Invest 94L, and this is 93L right here. So we'll call them 94 and 93 just for namesake, so we can continue to separate them. 94 right here does look like it's continuing to ride up the east coast of the United States. Try to potentially make some form of a landfall, maybe up in the Carolinas. Obviously, it's really close to us here in the state of Georgia. But right now, it doesn't look like anything should be expected with this system if this scenario played out. So if 94 does decide to do this, luckily we have that frontal boundary coming through, and that should act as a blocking mechanism. Try to continue to keep this out at sea, but some outer bands of rain and some gusty winds could be associated with this in the southeast as we go into the beginning of next week. That timing looking like around Monday or Tuesday. That's if the European solution does pan out. Now there is greater organization with 93, which is going to be the system that has formed and we've been keeping an eye on for a little bit longer than this other system. But right now you can see maybe some deeper pressure gradients, some darker colors or some lighter colors right here according to the European model as we go into next week, but hopefully continuing to stay out to sea. Obviously it would have some implications over in the island of Bermuda again, but overall we want both of these systems to stay out of the picture, and it looks like they continue to move back out into the Atlantic Ocean towards the middle of next week. So, okay, yes, twin tropical systems, of which 93 does look to be the stronger one as opposed to 94, which is the one that kind of moves closest to us. But let's take a look at how the GFS initializes this. So this is going to be your green shade where you can see good circulation starting to form, some low pressure cores starting to form with 93 right here and 94 who doesn't have quite as much organization as 93, excuse me. Well then as we go into Sunday into the evening hours, you can take a look at this. It looks like both of these systems are kind of interacting with one another in the way behind 94. So 93 is going to actually try to absorb 94 as it does move up the Atlantic coast. And then you can see, obviously we don't see that one system get as close to our neck of the woods. Looks like a lot of this storm does stay back out to sea, but it does look like it has some pretty strong intensity, just judging from some of the colors that you're seeing right there with the yellows and the pinks and the reds. So once again, another solution that looks like this is going to stay well out to sea. Let's take a look at the spaghetti plots, which can give us an idea of all these individual ensemble model runs. And obviously you see one that darts across Cuba, goes straight down to Central America. That's only what one model is saying, but the general consensus is this wave is going to continue to move through the Bahamas. This is the obviously 94 wave that we are monitoring that has the potential path that is closest to us here in central Georgia. You can continue to see good agreement up the Atlantic coast and then eventually back out to sea. As of right now, I would say the most drastic impact that we're still looking at from some of these models is going to be maybe some outer bands of rain, maybe some gusty winds, but it doesn't look like it's going to have really extreme tropical impacts, if any, as of right now. This is just what maybe one model is hinting at, the European sending some bands of tropical moisture and some tropical force winds across the southeast. So we'll continue to keep you updated, still not really anything of concern. And then obviously checking in on Hurricane Gabrielle, down to a Category 2 storm, continuing to see some steady weakening as it moves across the Atlantic Ocean, and then eventually will weaken down into a tropical storm once again, but actually looking like pretty good probability of making some form of a landfall, maybe over in Portugal, getting down into southwestern Spain, maybe into portions of northern Morocco, right there where the Atlantic Ocean turns into the Mediterranean Sea. So that would be quite an interesting forecast to keep an eye on. So the main takeaways that you need to know with your 7-day forecast: going to be a hot one today on the toasty end. Make sure you stay hydrated. Make sure that you're taking care of yourself. It's been the warmest numbers that we've seen in quite some time here in central Georgia. Then the temperatures get a downtick as our front drives through on Thursday and Friday. Thursday, I think you have the best chance of seeing some potentially stronger to maybe even a severe thunderstorm in some select few areas. Overall, I think Thursday you have a better shot at seeing some rain as opposed to Friday. I would say Thursday going to be a bit gloomy and a bit dreary, however, more so dreary. I think Friday is going to be the more so gloomy day with plenty of cloud cover in the forecast. Rain chances thin out as we go day by day across this weekend. High temperatures still hovering right there around average. And then your forecast Monday and Tuesday still pretty up in the air. It's all going to depend on how these tropical systems do form and maybe how they interact with one another. as we progress throughout this weekend. We'll continue to keep you updated on everything that you need to know with the tropics, and something to be on the lookout for that we'll be talking about tomorrow at 10:30 on this extended forecast. We'll get an update to our drought monitor. We'll see just how dry we are trending and hopefully how much rain that we could need in order to alleviate those dry conditions. But I'll keep you updated about if any of these drought areas do expand into central Georgia and how that's going to pertain to maybe any vegetation that you have in your backyard garden. Thanks for tuning in. We'll see you once again here at 10:30 tomorrow.